You know, I hate to be the one to say I told you so, but when John Fetterman was actually running for Senate, I tried to warn people about some of his positions. Now we're starting to see some of this come into light. So I want you to see this clip here from Dan. Dan is actually one of John Fetterman's constituents. He actually voted for John Fetterman, and he decided to approach him in reference to his opinions and his actions about Israel and Palestine. So Dan goes on to say, I just took on John Fetterman for his failure to support a ceasefire for Gaza and was assaulted. Let's get into this, guys. Here we go.
Why don't you support a humanitarian ceasefire? No, I'm with the Senators team. If you'd like, I can talk to you.
So I just want to pause here for a second. He's saying, why aren't you supporting a humanitarian ceasefire?
Oh, I can talk. I voted for him. I'm sorry, this is a democracy.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, but kind of, sort of. Why? 10,000.
So I'm pausing in between because there's some kind of music in the background. But again, Dan is letting you know that he voted for him.
People in Gaza have been killed. Half are children. The Pope's calling for a ceasefire. The UN has called for it. I'm just asking you. You're a good guy. I voted for you. I know you're a nice guy. This is important.
You need to leave.
Here, can I give you?
Okay, let's go ahead and pause it here. So one of the things that he's mentioning is like, why aren't you calling for a ceasefire? Which obviously is a legitimate question. And John Fetterman is not. Notice John Fetterman is not speaking. Notice he hasn't said anything. Now, I don't know who this gentleman is. I don't know if that's John Fetterman's bodyguard or whatever, but this guy just kind of jumps in to push Dan out the way, which I felt like this interaction here and this position from whoever this guy is. I don't know who this guy is. John Fetterman's a bodyguard, we're going to call him. I feel like this position is a bit extreme, considering the fact that Dan was not hostile towards John Fetterman, asked him a question directly to his face, told him that he voted for him, he supported him. And yet here comes Fetterman's bodyguard to jump in. And this is the way that he responds. And this is what I've been saying before about holding your politicians accountable. The people around them, they don't even want you to ask them tough questions. So this is what happened to Dan. Is this necessary? Is this necessary? So because he asked John Fetterman a question, apparently they have to push him completely out of the bar. Completely out.
He just assaulted him. He just assaulted him. He just assaulted him. He just assaulted him. He was just talking to him. He's assaulted him.
Now, what I do want to show you here is this part right here. Here's the witness. This duck. You see this duck? Here's the witness right here. Here's the duck. The duck saw the whole thing. Now, obviously, that response was extreme. Obviously. But this is how they responded. My question is this. No, John Fetterman did not put his hands on Dan. But my question is, why didn't John Fetterman stop his bodyguard from pushing him out the way that he did? This is how they treat their constituents. Then next time for re-election, they come back around and tell you, vote for me again. They don't care about their constituents. They don't care about you. But why does John Fetterman have the position that he has in reference to Israel and Palestine? I mean, this particular video went viral on Twitter and made it all the way to Newsweek, guys. All the way to Newsweek. So it says John Fetterman confronted by a pro-Palestinian protester in viral video. Let's get into this here. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman apparently walked away from a member of the public who was questioning him about his failure to support a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip as Israel has reportedly started to roll out its ground invasion of the territory. Let's go down here. Fetterman's stance sparked statewide pro-Palestinian protests outside his 4 offices, with hundreds of demonstrators gathering at the Customs House in Philadelphia on Thursday. It goes on to say, among the many who have called on Fetterman to reconsider his position and demand an immediate ceasefire in Gaza was Daniel Kovalik, a 55-year-old former professor of international human rights who shared a video on X, formerly known as Twitter, in which he confronts the senator about his stance on the Israel-Hamas war. Dan, who taught at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law until his contract expired in June, asked the Democrat why he doesn't support a humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. And then we'll skip over this part because this was already said in the video. But Fetterman did actually issue a statement right about here. In a statement published by his office, Fetterman said he won't support a ceasefire in Gaza until after Hamas is neutralized. But let me tell you what that really means. That means that more Palestinian civilians are going to die as a result. Goes on to say innocent Israelis were the victims of a terrorist attack that resulted in the largest loss of Jewish lives since the Holocaust. Now we know that the tragedy at the Gaza hospital was not caused by Israel. I grieve for every innocent person and brave Israeli soldier killed since Hamas started this war. If not for the horrific attacks by Hamas terrorists, thousands of innocent Israelis and Palestinians would still be alive today. Would they? Would they though? For the past 2 years, haven't we been showing you how they've been killing Palestinian people who were peaceful protesters in Palestine, how they were shooting at their feet, how they've been dragging kids through the street? This isn't new. Let's continue. He added, now is not the time to talk about a ceasefire. We must support Israel in their efforts to eliminate the Hamas terrorists who slaughtered innocent men, women, and children. Hamas does not want peace. They want to destroy Israel. We can talk about a ceasefire after Hamas is neutralized. So that was his response. Now, in reference to what he's saying here, that Hamas wants to destroy Israel, can't we say also that Netanyahu wants to destroy Gaza? According to leaked documents that I'm going to show you later on tonight, that is the case, that they don't want the Palestinian people there. That has been the plan from all along. But John Fetterman isn't going to say that. And I want to get to this part right here as well. Fetterman's opposition to a ceasefire has been criticized by some of his own former staff members, with a group of 16 ex-campaign staffers signing an open letter to the senator asking him to change his stance, as first reported by the Intercept news outlet. Now, I don't know what those staffers were thinking, and I don't know where those staffers have been, because from the very get-go, when John Fetterman was running for Senate, he was very clear about where he would stand in reference to Israel and Palestine. So I'm going to take you back. To this article from Jewish Insider. Just a reminder, folks. Just a little reminder. This article was written April 11th, 2022. John Fetterman says he'll lean in on U.S.-Israel relationship as senator. Let's get into it. I'll make this a little bit larger. John Fetterman, the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania and the Democratic frontrunner in next month's high-profile Senate primary, said he was eager to affirm his unwavering commitment to bolstering ties between the U.S. and Israel in an interview with Jewish Insider on Thursday, emphasizing that he will lean in on such efforts if he is elected to the upper chamber this November. So there you have it. He told you what he would do way ahead of time. Now, I also want to say this because I remember something else. Back during this time, those of us at RBN, we told you about John Fetterman. We warned you about John Fetterman. We told you he was not progressive, while other commentators sat here trying to convince their audience that he was progressive and that he supported progressive policies when there was actual video footage of him telling you that he was not progressive. We'll get to that in just a second. I don't know how many times I showed this article on my channel during that time. Granted, I didn't have as many viewers then as I do now, but I don't know how many times I had to show this. And it wasn't until it seems like all of a sudden people don't realize this until after he was elected. After he was elected, he was very clear about where he would stand in reference to this position. He went on to say, whenever I'm in a situation to be called on to take up the cause of strengthening and enhancing the security of Israel, or deepening our relationship between the United States and Israel, I'm going to lean in. Let me highlight this again, because this is the tell-all, folks. Whenever I'm in a situation to be called on to take up the cause of strengthening and enhancing the security of Israel, or deepening our relationship between the United States and Israel, I'm going to lean in. So I don't know why people are surprised now. And those 16 staffers or former staffers of his, why are they surprised? Why are they surprised now all of a sudden? He told you who he was. This is what happens when people don't pay attention. And he went on to say here, the relationship is a special one that needs to be safeguarded, protected, supported, and nurtured through legislation and all available diplomatic efforts in the region. So we all know why politicians are doing this. We all know why. We all know why. Now, I tried to warn you, and I'm going to show you that I tried to warn you. This was over a year ago, this stream, 1 year ago. I said Fetterman was not progressive. Listen to this part. And I didn't know about this, so I'm going to let you hear this for yourself. Here we go.
Are you a progressive?
No, I'm just a Democrat that has always run on what I believe and know to be true. And 6 years ago, that was considered progressive. But now there isn't a single Democrat in this race or any race that I'm aware of that's running on anything different. So that's not really progressive. That's just where the party is. I think that's the essence of what our party stands for, right?
What?
Thanks for watching.
No. One more time.
Are you a progressive?
No, I'm just a Democrat that has always run on what I believe and know to be true. And 6 years ago,
that's all you need to hear. You heard the whole thing already. And by the way, there's multiple videos on YouTube of him in interviews saying he's not a progressive. So I tried to warn people back then. And it was funny to me. You can tell people didn't do any research, didn't look up any information. People were just like, oh gosh, this is the progressive in the race. Really? He kept telling you he wasn't. He kept telling you that he wasn't. So what you are seeing from John Fetterman today, that is what John Fetterman showed you when he was running for Senate. John Fetterman has not changed his position in reference to Israel and Palestine. John Fetterman did not change his position in reference to whether or not he felt he was progressive or not. John Fetterman told you exactly who he was when he was running for Senate, but people didn't want to see it. Gamer says Fetterman is terrible and is owned. Yes. Yes. Again, follow the money. All you have to do is look up their donor information and you'll see why people have the positions that they have.